Welcome back to Ultimate S&S. So I am hoping that people are waking up and seeing the reality of what's happening around us. We live in a society that has the don't look up mentality. For those who have never seen that movie, it was basically that there was a extinction level event. It was like an asteroid, meteor, whatever you want to call it, that was coming toward Earth, and scientists discovered it in the show, and they were actually telling people what was coming their way. Didn't strike real easy for politicians and mainstream media because they like fluff pieces, much like our media today. And it was ignored. They came up with the "Do Not Look Up" slogan, all while the elite were planning their escape from destruction and just left everybody here on the earth to die. So that is the situation we're seeing in our society today around the world with all of our world leaders. Mainstream media covers for their incompetence. They're planning whatever it is they can do to survive, and they're telling you you're going to be okay. Understand though, you're not going to be okay if you are not stocking food. If you're not coming up with sustainability programs, you can stock 6 months supply of food. You will run out. You can stock a year. You will run out. For those who say they've stocked 10 years of food back, I don't believe you. I think you're lying. But if you have, that's great. But understand, you're not going to be able to defend that large of an area by just yourself. So I hope you have a pretty good group, guys. But what I wanted to really focus on here is show you why I'm doing some stuff and what I'm doing to prepare. So one of the big things that we're seeing right now is poultry prices going through the roof, if you can even find it. And understand that this is not going to get better. This is going to get worse as we go. Not only is the H5N1, which is the bird flu, is killing a lot of flocks and stuff like that. There's a lot of flocks being destroyed because they've detected that virus or whatever inside the flock, so they're destroying those. We have over in Europe right now, and I imagine it's going to happen over here, people are exterminating the large flock animals and stuff, and even herds and stuff, because there's not going to be enough feed to keep those animals healthy, so they are butchering them out now. That way that feed stuff that can be used for the population of people to eat. Think about that. You're going to be eating animal feed here probably before too long, especially over in those countries. They're already preparing by selling this chip that goes in your hand, or they can put it up in your face because of the muscles and stuff there is going to help keep it charged. It's like $400 over European Union's doing that. That's not BS. That's where we're at in today's society. Now, does the world seem to care? Most of them don't even realize it. Why? Because they don't research what's happening in the world today. They're simply looking at what CNN puts out on the news or MSNBC or whatever. They don't like watching news sources that give you truth because it goes against the narrative they wish to believe. And understand, when you're telling people they need to get ready, that you need to go out and you need to buy food, or that you need to grow food, or that you need to be stockpiling supplies, and that's medical supplies, anything you think you're going to need. If you're going to be using batteries and stuff, I would recommend going with solar chargers to charge those batteries and stuff like that as well. But there's a lot of different options you can do. So here's what I'm doing here to help with some of this food stuff that we've got coming. Okay, understand, I have a grocery bill like everybody else, and I always set back a certain portion of my budget to buy preps. And where I used to be able to buy a lot of preps, I'm seeing that I'm getting about a third of what I used to be able to get for that same price. So I had an option. Either I can wait for the prices to get so high that I can barely even afford groceries, or I can prepare and get ready. So here's what we've got going. We have a breeding process going on, or a program going on with our quail, and I'm going to be walking you through this step by step. So I just collected a bunch of eggs a couple of days ago. They are now in the incubator, and we're going to discuss that right now. Okay, so we're out here day 2 of our incubation. I'm just checking to make sure our temperature and humidity is holding pretty true. So we're still at 100. It's around 47% relative humidity. We want to bring that up on day 15 to about 75%, which is what this reservoir is for. We'll start putting water in that on about day 15 to bring the humidity level up. Unless it starts getting more humid out here in the shed, then we're not going to have to add any humidity. But right now it looks like we have a pretty good dry incubation going on. And what I'm going to do here on day 5, I'll bring the camera out. I'm going to set it on a tripod, and we're going to candle the eggs. And we're going to make sure that we're only incubating eggs that are going to develop into a bird. Yeah, so there's not much to that. That is not involved once you get them. You Don't wipe them and wash them down. You just dust the dirt and stuff off, check your eggs, make sure nothing's cracked. And then you set them in there. In about 5 days, we're going to check and see what eggs are actually developing. If we have eggs that aren't developing, maybe they weren't fertile or whatever, we're going to pull them out. There's no sense in wasting time and energy on them. So we pull them out, and I just throw them out in the compost bin right now. Just throw them out there. Now that could cause bugs and stuff like that. I don't really care. It's a compost pile, guys. But that's going to create a constant food source. So understand, last year I had a breeding program going where similar to what I have now, except it wasn't quite as large. And I have a group of dedicated layers, and you use those to breed another group. And once that group is laying, and I always try to make the group just a little larger than what the other one was. That allows for any kind of issues that you might have with some birds. Maybe you have some that are sterile or something. I've not had that issue, but anything could happen, guys. So now that this new batch of birds is laying eggs, they're breeding, they're happy, I'm taking the ones that are a year old and I'm going to be butchering those out. But I made sure that I took eggs from both sides of that hutch out there to incubate. That's going to keep the bloodlines kind of mixed up a little better and stuff. And you can wait and see how many birds you're going to have hatch to make sure that you are in a situation where they're actually breeding, that there's nothing sterile, that those eggs are actually ready to be hatched. And that's what we've done. Now, moving away from just the quail, when it comes to chickens and stuff like that, guys. So there's a lot of people maybe don't want chickens, maybe don't have room for chickens. I completely understand that. Thankfully, I have room for chickens. So looking at chicken feed and stuff like that can get kind of pricey, especially in a society where prices for regular food that you're going to eat is going up. So then you're at a situation where you're looking, is it feasible to even buy chicken feed to feed these chickens, or is it cheaper to invest in a different project? So if you have the property, you can feed your chickens a lot of these wild plants that grow wild out here. What you want to do is make sure that you're not spraying weed killer, you're not spraying any kind of insecticides or anything like that on the grasses and stuff. And you want to cut all that out and bring it in. You can pull it up by the roots. They eat roots. Chickens will eat the heck out of some roots. But you get all that pulled up and you just throw it in your coop. They like to kick around in it. They like to eat. What they don't want to eat, they're not going to eat. They'll just kick it around. And it's still a good base to have in your run, as far as they're not walking around on dirt, the ground. It gives them something to scratch around in. It gives them some entertainment. So here's what we've got going out there. So it did quite a bit of weeding yesterday, and this pile was almost to the bottom of that swing. I usually throw the weeds as long as there's nothing, that's going to be toxic to them, no thorns or anything like that as well. We'll throw that out here to the birds, allow them to kick through it. They eat some of it, the rest of it they spread around the coop, and that just gives us a ground cover that can later be mulched into our mulch pile. And to me, I like to just go out and watch the chickens, man. It's relaxing. So you might be thinking, well, I don't really care about dealing with animals and stuff like that. I don't eat meat. Now, hey, you might not eat meat. That's fine. You need to do a garden. If you don't eat meat and stuff like that, you need to do a garden. That needs to be done. Stop focusing so much on growing grass in your yard and allow natural plants and stuff. If you're going to keep it cut, that's fine. Just keep it cut. All throughout this yard out here, there's areas where blackberry bushes would be sprouting up and going crazy and stuff like that. Different types of plants that are edible. Instead of taking and tearing all of that out and just planting grass seed and growing grass, we allow that stuff to cultivate out here, and we take and mow it down. And whenever we're ready to cultivate that spot or that plant, we cut around it, weed eat around it, make a nice area, or transplant it and move it to another spot that it's going to do better at. And that's what you need to do in your yards. Now, that's a good start, but you really need to grow gardens, and you need to grow gardens that have the ability to put out a lot of stuff. So here's my problem with certain types of plants. So like broccoli, it's a really great source. I don't know if you can trim it year round. I have no idea. I don't know much about it. I've not grown it, but it seems like it comes up, it clusters, and then that's pretty much it. When it comes like cauliflower and things like that, again, you get a nice big head, but then it's kind of it. When it comes to greens will continue to replenish themselves. Sometimes you'll have like turnip greens where you get a turnip root as well. And then you have collard greens, and lettuce. Even certain types of lettuce, you can trim the outer leaves off while it's growing, and it's just going to keep producing as long as you keep giving it minerals, vitamins, and stuff like that. What it needs, the NPKs that it needs, is going to keep producing. Corn, once it grows up and it matures, it's pretty much done. But you can take those stalks and you can actually mill them down, and it works as a filler feed for birds and stuff like that. Now you want to make sure that you're giving them good greens and stuff to go along with that as well. It's going to give them vitamins they need, but it can be just a good filler, a scratch, kind of like how corn is. Corn doesn't really hold a nutrition value to a bird, but cracked corn is one of the greatest scratches you can use to throw out, get your birds to peck around and find bugs and stuff like that. So here's a little shot of our garden. We're going to talk a little more about this, guys. It's like our zucchini plant is doing really good out here. We got a lot of flowers coming in. Still haven't seen a whole lot of pollinators yet. Our bean plants have started blooming. Those little purple flowers are. So we do have pollinators exploring around the garden. Haven't seen a lot inside it yet. There are definitely bees coming from out back up here. Our white spine cucumber plants are coming in pretty good, man. I mean, they're starting to spread out really nice. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of guiding these plants as they grow and gently weave them through. And those little tendrils are going to grab onto this fence. And I could get this whole fence here covered in real good. That is the plan anyway. So these are a few options. You've got a brain. You know what's going to work best for you. The community of preppers and things like that, right now it seems like it's more concerned with giving you the popular view than telling you what's going on. And that's not true of all channels, obviously. But I want people to wake up and realize the hour that we live in. We've already got the European Union pushing a microchip implant. And understand the way that our society is geared, the way that our youth is geared, is when they see that stuff over there, they want it here. That's why they have been programmed. That's why they have been brainwashed into schools and things. Now parents are starting to complain about stuff their kids are learning in school. It's been going on for decades. I guess they just haven't been paying attention. Here's my suggestion. Pull your children out of public school. Homeschool is what you need to do. There's a lot of public schools that have where they have homeschooling courses you can do right on the computer. Or you can find a correspondence school, a Christian correspondence school, any time of correspondence school that best suits what you want your children learning. Don't get up in the middle of a parent-teacher meeting and start complaining that they was trying to teach your third grader about sexual education. That is the public school system. They're not going to change. They don't care what your view is as a parent. It is a public school system. They're going to do what they want to do. You're going to have to pull your kids out and teach them yourself. That's what it's going to have to be. And you may be thinking, oh, I'm not really qualified. Hey, man, a teacher doesn't know everything in the book. That's why they have the book. They have curriculum. They have answer keys and things like that. Now they have a general education, typically high school diploma, and that is usually required in order to homeschool your children. So I would recommend, if you don't have a high school diploma or a GED, you need to get that. It's not hard to get, guys. It just takes a little studying, and then you need to start teaching your own children at home. If you're not willing to change your lifestyle for your children's sake, you're sure not going to change it to be able to feed your kids, be able to feed yourself. You're going to follow with whatever the easiest path is, and that's what's wrong with society. Is they like to jump up, they like to protest, they like to do all this different stuff, but what they do is, when it comes right down to it, it's just too damn hard to change. So they sit back and say, well, I'm just tired of dealing with it. We'll just ride the coattails like the rest of them. And that's where we're at in society today. It is a really bad situation, guys. Sorry for the language. It comes out sometimes. Like I say, it's something I'm struggling with. Have been struggling with it for many years, but it's got a lot better. It's not as bad as it used to be. It still ain't great. But I think people need to wake up. You know, if you've got family members you're trying to get them into prepping or whatever you want to call it, guys, and they don't want to get into it, stop wasting your time. Use that energy that you're trying to inform them on. Use that energy toward getting yourself ready. Don't worry about what they're doing. Who cares? Who cares what they're doing? When they come showing up with their butt in their hand, man, it's up to you if you're going to help them at that point. You know, the fact is, most of these lazy people are like, well, I've got a family member that preps. I'll just go over there. They don't mean they're going to go over there to help you when the fall happens. They mean they're going to come over and they're going to lay up on you and they're going to eat all your food and all your stores up and stuff like that. They're going to sit back, they're going to eat all your flocks up. And when things start to get where, hey man, we need some help around here, we're starting to hurt, they're going to haul to the next location. That is the society we live in. Watch out for prepping or these leeches that like to leech on the preppers. Watch out for that stuff because it's a very real thing, and typically it's family members who will do that to you. Now, you may have family who has property and they're like, yeah, we need to do this. Well, then y'all need to be over there helping them get, if you don't have your own properties and stuff, you need to be over there helping them get gardens in, maintain gardens and stuff like that. So then that would require me to get off work and come over and actually work and do some more stuff. Well, let me tell you, from the moment I get up to let the chickens out at night, or in the morning I let them out, to the moment that I go to put them up in the evening, I am out and I am constantly doing something. There is no just sit back. This is a lifestyle change. Either you are going to provide for you and your family on your own terms, or you're going to do whatever the government or whatever entity you want to call it tells you in order to provide for your families. Like, you have to go get one of these. I'm not going to do that. You're going to have to get one of these up in there. I'm not going to do that at all. Eventually this way of life that we're building here, this sustainability program that's working for me, eventually that's going to come under attack. And when they come here, we'll see how it plays out. But what I fully expect is people like me, we will not comply with anything because we stand on a spiritual, scriptural, moral standard, guys, which is, even though I know I'm not perfect, I am not going to do something that the Word of God says do not do. And it warns you about it. And that's where you need to stand. If you don't stand for anything, then basically you're nothing. If you will not stand up for the rights of children's lives, if you will not stand up for the rights of your own children to be able to grow up and not have to be fed into this system of perversion, which is where this is headed. That's why they want to teach third graders about sexual preference and sexual identity and sexual education and things like that, so these pedophiles and stuff can go, well, they fully understand what sex is at that age. You watch and see if it doesn't come. They're already doing gender identity and things like that as well. All right. I feel so bad for people that fall to that stuff, man. Be you. Stop trying to label yourself by what the government and political activists and things like that are trying. Just be yourself, man. Stop identifying as anything other than you. Just be you. Whatever your name is, be you. I am who I am. That's just who I am. I am exactly the way that I've been created, for the reason that, whatever the reason it is. If someone has a problem with me, they can come up, they can say it, or they can run around and badmouth and all that stuff. But either way, it doesn't matter. As long as I know where my heart is pointed and where my attention is focused, none of that matters. I don't care what people's problems are. And I know that sounds harsh, guys, but it's coming down to a point where people need to realize your life, if you're single, your life is about getting focus on what? On the Creator. And it's only when you have that relationship built that you should even be concerned about trying to find a partner. But chances are that the Lord will bring one to you. That's the reality of it. Now, for the people who are in and out of relationships all the time, understand you don't get in relationships. You're supposed to build them. The reason you keep dating and you keep jumping around so much and stuff is because you're just out jumping around from one person to the next, and you're jumping into whatever mess that's left over from the last person who was there before you. Build a friendship, build a relationship. That's how you do that. And it's the same thing in prepping as well. If you want to talk to your family members about prepping and stuff, then you need to show them that it works. That means that you're getting your stuff. You're not just buying food. Oh, let's go out and let's go buy some food. Okay, guys, look at my pantry right here. This is stocked up. But what most people do is then they stop buying food because that was all the money they had. And they sit right there and they start eating their stores up that day. You need to have food that's not going to be touched. Once you have that, that's great. Don't touch it. Grow your own food so you're putting more food in. That's what you need to do. That's how you become sustainable, guys. Understand when the grocery stores fail and they go to that you're being allowed allotments and stuff like that, and that is coming. Understand that. That is coming. That is one of the most socialist communist things that you can do. This is my family size. This is what you're allotted. Nothing more, nothing less. You're going to have to grow your own food to survive because it ain't going to be enough. They don't want it to be enough. They want to reduce the population. So hope you're having a great day, guys. We're going to hop off here.